Steve Plank, and it is my distinct honor and privilege to serve you as principal here at Middleton High School. Thank you for being here this evening. There is a lot of energy and excitement. If you get to the spot where there's 550 or so eager 8th graders who are ready to be here, there's a lot of energy and excitement. So that's a good thing. And I do want to make mention about tonight's program. This will be something that will get posted to our website. There will be a copy of this PowerPoint presentation. There will also be a video that is a reproduction of what you're seeing here tonight. So if you want to go back and look at something or listen again carefully, you're certainly going to be welcome and able to do that. Another housekeeping piece before we get going is we recognize that throughout the next roughly 45 minutes, while myself and some others are presenting to you, you very well may have some questions about something that you hear. And so there's some folks who are part of our staff who are positioned around the Performing Arts Center right now, and they're going to come kind of up and down the aisles, take a quick peek. If you would like a note card and a pen, or one or the other, so that you might be able to jot a question down throughout the program. When we get to the end of our content, we'll collect all of those note cards and do our very best to answer all of those questions. So a little nod one way down to an aisle, or maybe a little raised hand, and we'll know to find you here. And so in my introductory comments, these note cards are going to be coming around as well. Lastly, I just want to mention that our goal for the evening, for this about 45 minutes of presentation and then question and answers for another 15, is really to just break the ice. It's to introduce to you some of the elements of things going on here at Middleton High School, and for you to build some comfort so that the level of anxiety that might exist at least begins to dissipate. So with that, this is the official first time that any of us get to say, welcome. You are part of the class of 2023, and that number seems to be getting kind of huge, and welcome. If I have my facts correct, there are 634 incoming freshmen. That's a pretty overwhelming number, and as I look out into the space this evening, it's indicative of our size and growth. I do want to ask, so how many of you who are here tonight, this is your first time as a parent of a high schooler? Just let me see that. Yeah, look around. See, you're in good company. Just come on, hold up with me just for a second. So if you're stressed, it's all right. You're in good company. I say that because I tend to think that you are the most difficult audience that I get to present to all year long. It's not a bad thing. It's that this is a pretty big deal. And you're at a point in the education for your child where there's lots of questions, and there might be some concerns and some wonderment about what's going to happen. We are here to help. Tonight ought to be about taking a deep breath, kind of relaxing, and starting to understand that we really want for you to enjoy this journey with us and with your students. So one of the things that, to break the ice, we want to do is make sure that you know who some of us are. So part of the purpose for tonight is for you to be introduced to some of the key staff here at Middleton High School who you're going to have a lot of different interaction with on a variety of different occasions. And so first, there's the 4 of us that are listed on this slide that have the title principal next to our name. That's myself. I see both Jeff Keenis and Lisa John Doe sort of back there if they'd wave. They are the associate principals for teaching and learning. So oftentimes I describe their role as working predominantly with our teaching staff. And then our associate principal of student services, Omar Rodriguez, who's seated down here, and he works predominantly with a team of folks who work directly with kids. And that is kind of our structure and our layout. In addition, we are very privileged to have some other amazing folks on our team as well. Administratively, we've got Pat Gadar, who is somewhere in the facility back there. He works and provides the expertise that we need in the area of special education. We have Denise Hansen, who's also, I think, maybe back there as well. She works in terms of our students with both interventions and some of our advanced learning, and you're going to hear from her tonight. We also are very proud and pleased to work with two deans that work directly with our students and are advocates for kids, and they are Cody Lundquist and Sarah Buzowski, and Cody's here and Sarah's in the back, and so these are folks that will be around throughout the evening as well. And then finally, before the evening is out, when we get into our question and answer session, you're going to meet our instructional leaders. We have 10 instructional leaders in the school. There's one that works with and represents each of our 10 departments. So math, science, English, social studies, world language, career, tech ed, fine arts, special education, and our student services team. And so those folks are the experts. Did I miss somebody? PE and health. See, I rattled them off. I'm seeing now, I'm going to hear about that for weeks. So you'll meet all of these folks as well, because we understand the complexity of our curriculum is such that you need to be able to have content experts to talk to as well as we go on. In addition, here tonight, and when we're done and you rendezvous back with your students, we will have all of us, including our counselors and some of our other student services staff, psychologists, social workers, nurse, etc., in the gym in the field house, so that if you have a really specific question, we're here both for you to get an introduction and to have that question answered the best you can. So lots of hopes and goals for our time together. And so we're just going to get right into it. One of the first reasons that we do this presentation for you now, you know, mid-January seems awfully early. Your child is still in 8th grade, not even at this point, you know, halfway through that year, and yet here we are talking about their next year in high school. And part of the reason that we do that is because we are also right now asking them to select courses for their next school year. And part of that is a timeline that we're somewhat adhered to just due to trying to get our staffing in kind of in order and develop our budget for the next school year. And we have to develop the master schedule that makes this whole thing run. And so it's an interesting process, and this is about as long as we can wait before we have students choose their courses. So a couple of things relative to that. First, it is a big deal, and it's not. So you're thinking, oh, that's great. Well, the big deal is, it's really important that you take some time to go through the course offering book with your student, to talk about what their interests might be, and to select those courses that are appropriate. It's not a big deal, as you're going to see here in a little bit when our associate principals, Jeff and Lisa, are here, that the schedule doesn't actually give you a whole lot of room to choose. You make 2 or 3 choices, the rest is pretty prescribed. And so it's not as difficult as you might think. For us, however, it's perhaps the most serious decision that gets made before high school starts, because we will develop all of our staffing and budget based on those requests. And so the high school works a little bit differently than the middle schools in that sense. That when we ask our students to choose what courses they want, we might have a course, we currently have 209 offerings in our course book, and if one of them doesn't have, you know, at least 23 or 4 students that sign up for it, we just won't run that class. And so every student and their voice and their choice matters. And so that is part of the deal, and yet I wouldn't want you to be stressed out about it. It is in no way at all is it first come, first serve. If you turn it in on the first day or the last day, it doesn't change how that affects whether or not the student gets a class. And so please understand that sometimes people feel like, well, I just got to get this done, I got to get it in. No, it doesn't work that way. We take them all, and then we put them all in the pool at the same time. So that's just something that we would want you to know. And I feel like we have to sort of get that stuff out of the way so that maybe I can now take a minute and brag. So I would love to stand here and tell you that Middleton High School is just a great place to be, and so I'm going to do that. You know, different people value different things. There's no question about that, and I completely understand that. And so whether it is the academic reality of what we do, we are, after all, an institution of learning, or maybe it's something about athletics, and that's your thing, or maybe it's something about your artistic endeavors, and that's your thing. Great, because we're awesome in all of them. So you can pick and choose, and whatever it is that you want to celebrate. I do think, though, that it would be remiss of me to not say that we are incredibly fortunate to be in a place like Middleton High School, in a place like this Performing Arts Center, knowing that we have the support of the community that we do. And if that ever was in question relative to how people feel about their schools, when this referendum vote happened in November, there was tremendous support for that. We're excited about that. Your students are going to have part of that experience, and we're going to have just really world-class facilities that take what we already have to a whole level that many of us can't even imagine. Having said that, our academic performance is pretty amazing. When I go back and I look at the latest school report cards that we oftentimes don't even really talk about, not only were we the best in Dane County and competing with the top 3 or 4 in the state of Wisconsin, but anything even around us in the county, we were many, many points, I think 6 higher than the next best school in terms of the report card work. And so there's a lot to be celebrating there. When I think about our composite ACT, which is a mandatory test that all juniors take, and it essentially boils down to it's kind of a college entrance exam, whether we like it or not, we want to feel responsible for having all students prepared to do well, so that if they want to choose an option of going on to school, they can. And our composite score right now of a 24.5 from our last junior class testing, that puts you in is smaller than 1% of the highest performing schools nationally. And that's something to just be incredibly proud of. When I look at our artistic endeavors, I mean, we could go on and on and on with the things that happen on this stage, or the things that I see in Gallery 2000 that are produced by our students. But at the end of the day, what it really boils down to is we have tremendous, tremendous opportunity for our students. I at times can't even believe some of the stuff, and I walk down the hall scratching my head and saying, wait, they did what? You know, they had the lieutenant governor here yesterday on the first full day of work. I don't know how they pulled that off, but it was part of our sophomore level United States government politics class, and they just did that. And last year they had both of our United States senators here on this stage, and so it's just amazing, sort of the opportunity and the exposure that we're able to have. And the same holds true in our athletic endeavors. I sometimes ask our athletic director, who's also here tonight, Bob Jors, and so if you need to speak with him later, he'll also be around. I just can't believe that we even take winning almost for granted, because we win so much. And then you're celebrating kind of this amazing culture around winning. And that's really, it's just a rare thing, and it's something that's really incredibly impressive. And the long list of students and their experiences of winning state titles or getting scholarships for college is just amazing. So on the flip side of that, I could also say, if and when we ever fail you on something that is an expectation, you'll know that it is not due to lack of effort or lack of care or lack of interest on our part. And your presence here tonight is the first demonstration that you're ready, willing, and able to partner with us on the experience that your child is going to have here in this school. And it's a journey, and it's a fun one. So we also want you to be thinking that, we want to keep things as simple as possible while you're here with us. Our general ideas around cardinal pride and pride for school and self and others is just to be ready, be responsible, and be respectful. We talk about this sometimes, and it's kind of just a general theme around the school, and it doesn't have to be complicated. Your students know kind of what's right and what those expectations are. And it's really, for us, it's a basic formula for success. So it's something that we're working on. We want to continue to push this and make sure that all of our students have a sense of belonging while they're here with us as well. And that's something that when you hear about our advisory program and our clubs and activities from Ben White, a little bit later tonight, you'll hear some more about that as well. So to shift gears and just kind of make sure that you get an idea of some of the basics of high school, just want to do a little bit of introduction here. And then you're going to hear a lot more about this as the program goes on. You'll get some details on each of these. But one of the things, and perhaps the biggest thing that makes high school different from anything up until this point in time, is the stuff that we all remember. It's the sense that, okay, this learning thing, suddenly this is for all of marbles. And I say that meaning that we start now taking track and inventory of everything. We keep track of credits. Those credits are listed on a transcript. That transcript exists and follows you, and it's a legal document for the rest of your life. That is very, very different than anything that's happened up until this point. And so the choices that get made and the responsibility of the partnership between the student and the school starts to evolve because of that. The high school, also different than what most of your kids have experienced. We run on a block schedule. Those are 87-minute class periods. In my mind, it's an hour and a half. They're long. It's a long class. We also operate on an A-B rotation, which most of you, if you're coming from either Glacier Creek or Cromer, you're familiar with that A-B rotation. Students do get a 30-minute lunch. We have something called all-school resource as well as advisory. Again, all of these things, we're going to dig into this a little bit tonight just so that you can have a flavor for sort of what is a day around here like, and then what's the schedule going to be like. Before we do that, though, I want to just ask that maybe you just give me a couple minutes here to just go completely sort of off script and talk to you about being a parent in 2019 or 2023. And the reason that I do that, and if you can read this slide, great. If you can't, that's fine too. But some people who are working closely with me know that I'm a little bit enamored by some of the conversations around the differences in our generations. And to be very honest, if we have a 24-year-old teacher and a teacher who is 60 and they're working right next to each other, maybe even across a desk, they view the world very differently. It's really kind of cool. And your kids, they view the world very differently. And the more that I sort of look into this, the more I realize that we're about to have a pretty serious awakening. And so the characteristics, this Gen Z group, they're after the millennials. So there's probably no Gen Zers in this room for sure. But you can see what some of the characteristics are. And initially, some of those characteristics are a bit frightening. That, they were born after 9/11, their whole world, we've sort of been fearful of terrorism, and we've been at war, and there's a lot of reason for them to be pretty freaked out about some things, including school safety, which we talk about all the time. They are also more concerned about debt, and what about college, and is it going to be a right decision for me, is it going to pay for itself? That the world is changing rapidly. And then I go on to say, but it's not all bad, right? Some of the characteristics of this generation that are coming to work with us, they are the most loyal, the most compassionate. They give of themselves to others. They are very, very responsible. They're highly determined. These are amazing characteristics for us to be leveraging as well. So I say this because there are some experts that really believe that this is a description of maybe a Gen Zer. Gen Z can be less focused on their millennial counterparts. In school, they might create a document on their school computer, do some research on their cell phone or tablet, they might be taking notes on a notepad, then finish it in front of a TV with a laptop, and that might be FaceTiming a friend at the same time. You get the picture. Does that sound like anybody you know? Or maybe this one. Gen Z is full of self-starters. Many employers are predicting that more teens between the ages of 16 and 18 are going to choose to go straight into the workforce, opting out of the traditional route of higher education, and instead finishing school online, if at all. Would you make a major investment, possibly leading to years of debt, knowing that there are new, more affordable, not to mention convenient, and online alternatives coming up every day? And I don't know that I have an answer to that question. And in some ways, as somebody who's lived in schools my whole life, it freaks me out a little bit. And yet, your kids are going to be the ones that are going to start to change the way that we view things. And so, this generation of learners, the last little bullet up there, they are likely the ones who are going to start to reshape some 200 plus years worth of what the institution of public education looks like. And that's an exciting thing. And so when you sort of sit here tonight and you're feeling a little bit uneasy maybe about what's going to happen, just know that they're not. They're down the hall having a great time. And they are ready for this, and they're excited about this. And so together we figure that out, and we work together. And what they're about to experience for high school is not what we experienced when we were here. So at this point, thank you for sort of enduring that little soapbox moment for me. It's been kind of fun. I'm going to introduce Omar Rodriguez. He is our Associate Principal of Student Services, and he's going to dig into a little bit more of the structure of what makes Middleton High School special. Thank you.
I'm going to start my stopwatch here real quick because I got a little over-under wager with Mr. Kiedis, and I think he cheated me on my time last year, so bear with me. Welcome. Thank you for your time tonight. My name is Omar Rodriguez, Associate Principal of Student Services. Bienvenidos. Gracias por compartir su noche con nosotros. Mi nombre es Omar Rodríguez, subdirector de Servicios Estudiantiles aquí en la Preparatoria de Middleton. This next slide serves as a visual representation of our red maple and white spruce teams, in other terms, our small learning community structure. This small learning community structure helps students, parents, and guardians navigate a large comprehensive system, while also allowing this integrated model to provide a collaborative and inclusive approach to servicing our students, which allows us to get to know each and every student and support the whole student in a very in-depth and personal way. So hats off to our student services staff for that work. All of the individuals that are listed here, you can find their contact information on our school website. Next, we have a few examples of the different supports that come into play to help students transition into Middleton High School, but then also some will help support and carry students through their journey here at MHS. And I'm sure you've heard, as Dr. Plank briefly mentioned, with the buzz at home, that our transition, or your students' transition, has begun. Last week, the 3rd and 4th counselors visited both middle schools to provide a general overview of our course selection process. In that, they covered our course offering book in depth with students, our course selection forms, and how to accurately read the contents of that course selection for them to know what courses are available to them and what courses are not, what prerequisites they need to meet in order to register for courses further down the line. Graduation requirements was also a topic of conversation, so they really got in-depth, a lot of in-depth information there as well. Next, we have our freshman welcome, or our freshman only schedule during the first day of class, of school. Our link crew leaders do a wonderful job, and you'll hear more about that a little bit later in the presentation, of welcoming students, making them feel at home as they transition into this large high school, and show them the ins and outs of how to navigate it. First, the first activities are just team building and again, helping students feel comfortable as they transition here. They get the first day jitters out with those activities, and then all the other students come and go through the rest of the schedule in the later half of the day. In October, our student services team conducts advisory visits, which serves as an introduction and informs students of who they are, or who we are in the first place, but then also allowing students, or providing students with information of the different supports that are available throughout the school year. Students also have an opportunity to ask anonymous questions. And it's really an informal yet insightful and informative process for both students and staff. And some of the questions that we get are pretty well thought out, and just, again, knowing the ins and outs of everything that Middleton High School has to offer. Our 4-year academic planning conferences, which we're just, we're on the back end of it now with our current freshman class, is really, it builds upon the ACP classes that students take during the 8th grade. Those occur during early November and December. Counselors meet with every freshman and their students and parents and students, parents, and guardians as if you're available to join us as the meetings take place during the day. The purpose of those meetings is first and foremost to get to know your students a little bit more in depth, but also you as parents or guardians. We review or begin a four-year planning process that should ideally have been initiated at the middle schools, but if you're coming to us from a private school, it's really the touch point of that entire process. The work that is done there, it's important for us to remember that the work that is done in that conference is a dynamic and fluid process. It's not something that's set in stone. It's kind of a general skeleton or a general map of the next 3 years and the next 4 years, but not anything that students are committed to and can certainly change throughout their tenure here. In those sessions, we also cover graduation or review graduation requirements, and our graduation requirements require students to earn 23.75 credits of the right credits in order to meet those requirements. Specifics, if you're looking for specifics, you can find that in the course offering book as well. We recognize that Middleton High School offers many choices and opportunities for students to explore their interests. We want to help your child explore all of those options and explore all of those interests and find inspiration into in what really clicks with them, what really resonates with them, and finding their niche or finding their passion, hopefully, during their 4 years here. Encourage your students to explore their interests. Please, as Dr. Plank mentioned regarding the course selection process, it's important for them to explore their interests. Don't take a class because their friends are taking it. And I'm sorry, folks, but don't take a class because your parents have an interest in a certain field. We've had our opportunity. This is their time to shine and thrive. You can make recommendations, but it should not be based on what you want your kids to pursue. And I should probably take a little bit of that advice as I have conversations around the dinner table. Encourage academic rigor. But it's not all that schools are looking for. We are constantly battling that misinterpretation or misrepresentation that everything needs to be honors and AP courses, and in fact, it doesn't. It depends on the tier of school that your student is ultimately going to be looking for, but please encourage and push for that balance. Schools and employers are looking for well-rounded students. They're not just looking for that 4.0 student any longer. Getting involved in all of the innovative clubs and activities is also an important part of high school. It's not just the brick and mortar and the books. It's also the socialization and, again, exploring interests. Volunteering, we do have a service learning component that you'll hear a little bit more about later on in this evening, but giving back to your community is essential and is a critical aspect of what colleges, universities, and employers are looking for as well. Lastly, with this, please encourage responsible use of social media. It is something that we navigate on a daily basis, and the consumption of our resources on a daily basis tending to social media issues is pretty outlandish. Please have conversations with kids to explore, consider the current and future implications that one single post can have, not only on their lives, but on their peers' lives as well. Our weekly house meetings allow us to problem solve around academic and other relevant circumstances that impact student achievement. We discuss possible needs for more targeted interventions or supports. It may include academic, behavior, social, emotional, and we are working in conjunction with the district staff and community organizations to help expand our menu of interventions that we offer to kids. Social workers and school psychologists are also available to provide additional assistance in the areas of financial aid or mental health. These services or these positions do tend to work with more targeted and specific, with more targeted and intense student needs. Overall, our goal is to support students in their high school journey by providing equitable access to opportunities for them to learn and grow. Last, we've got our registration timeline here, which I briefly touched upon. The portal opened on January 3rd. for students to request make their course selections for the following school year, and it closes for our incoming 8th graders on January 16th. Students return their signed pink forms to their respective personnel at their middle schools. If you are a family coming to us from a private school and you did not receive that registration or that course selection information, we do have forms available in the field house for you to pick up and take home. There are course offering books there as well, so please look for a counselor down in the field house or concourse area. Again, we return materials to Ms. Darcy Middleton in the Student Services Office on January 16th. Welcome your students to the Cardinal family. Thank you once again for your time. Next, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Lisa Jondal and Mr. Jeff Keenis. Have a good evening.
Good evening. As Mr. Rodriguez said, we are your associate principals for teaching and learning. Between the two of us, we supervise the academic departments throughout the school, so we will be your people going forward if you have any concerns in that realm. We're going to talk briefly today about some of the scheduling things that your students experience as they get ready to start their freshman year here at Middleton High School. First up there, you'll see a slide. The blocks are just placeholders, so no, not all of your students will have math first block. Could be any point during the day, but this is to let you know what kind of courses your students will be taking. As Dr. Plank mentioned earlier, it stays pretty simple your freshman year. They're all going to take a math course, they're all going to take a science course, social studies and English, and some PE and health. And there will be spots for a couple of electives, and that will be part of those 200 plus offerings you get to flip through. Some are available for freshmen, some they might have to work towards, but eventually they will get there. I do encourage you to make sure that you do look through those courses because there are some really neat opportunities in this building as students get older. So you'll want to know at least what courses you want to be taking as a freshman so that you're preparing yourself for your junior, senior when you're going to have a lot more options moving forward. There is a spot in the schedule for ASR and also advisory, but Mr. Allen will be talking about that shortly. Two of the areas in the building that a lot of our electives fall into are career technical education and fine performing arts. These were on the previous slide, but encompass a whole lot of areas. Business, marketing, our family and consumer sciences, our health sciences, engineering, the variety of our tech ed options. Our fine and performing arts, very well known in this building. We have a very extensive band, orchestra, choir, and theater programs, and so many kids will start to get involved in that either in the curricular or in the extracurricular area as early as a freshman year, continue to have great experiences throughout their 4 years here at Middleton High School.
So pragmatically, how all of this information fits together is on the daily, this is what the schedule looks like at MHS. So we do have an A and a B day rotation. Those A and B days are determined at the beginning of the school year, and they will not change throughout the entire year. So they're not associated with a specific day of the week, they just rotate. If there's a snow day or if there's a change to the schedule, the A and B day calendar stays intact. So it's predictable for the whole year, you can plan it out that way. So A days, 4 academic blocks. In between, there's a lunch and an advisory. Your students will be assigned an advisor as they enter school in the fall, and they will stay with that advisor all 4 years. The advisor becomes a constant contact for your family and for your student, and they also do a lot of communicating about scheduling and important concepts that come up and that are specific to each grade level. On B days, there are 3 academic blocks, 5, 6, and 7. In between, there's that lunch and study hall with that same advisor. So they will have contact with the advisor every day. The A day is more of a content community building and curricular side. And the study hall is time for a check-in, some of that academic advising. And it's also the opportunity for students to sign up for what we refer to as ASR, All School Resource, which is the final block of the day on B days. All School Resource is part of the academic day. We count it in our minutes. So we do value that time tremendously. I'm going to actually move ahead and talk about how ASR works. This is sort of a flex period in the day. It gives students an opportunity to personalize their learning. How it works is in that advisory time, they will review grades or determine what needs they have, and they actually get to choose the teacher that they're going to go sign up and work with during that time. It's split into two 43-minute sections, so they could go see one teacher for both sections, or they could see two separate teachers at that time. However, it's not a total free-for-all. If students have missing word or a missing test, teachers can reserve students. And when that happens, the students aren't allowed to sign in somewhere else. So the amount of choice students get is sort of equivalent to what sort of academic standing they're in. I talked a little bit about that program and advisory. We do use a different program called FlexiSketch. It's how we take attendance, and your students will have ample opportunity to get familiar with that program. And again, it's a time for personalized learning, an opportunity for them to take control over some of their learning and opportunities and choices in their academic journey. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to the Ben White, who will speak to you about our advisory program.
Good evening. My name is Ben White, and I am the Student Activities Coordinator. Earlier, you saw my name on a slide, and it said, I believe, Activities Coordinator. Here it says Advisory Coordinator. I have many roles here at the high school, but most importantly, my role here at the high school is that of dad. And last year, I was here sitting in those chairs where you are now, and thinking of my daughter, who's my oldest, and thinking in denial that she was going to be in high school. And I don't really know what anybody said, because the entire time I thought my daughter's not going to be in high school. And then I remembered the character in Finding Nemo, Crush, the turtle. Do you remember Crush? Crush had a little turtle that flew out of the current, and everybody freaked out, and he said, let's see what the little squirt's got. And the little squirt was able to get back in the stream and join everybody. And it's just a reminder that your son or daughter is more ready for high school than you are. So trust them. But if your student has nerves about starting high school, let them know that they will have a place of community and comfort in the advisory program. Ms. John Doe touched on it a little bit, and hopefully they're experiencing a great time tonight with the Link crew, who are leaders of the high school, and also with freshman advisors that are out there right now. And really, advisory is one of the important parts of the high school that make us feel like a small community. So when students enter 9th grade, they're placed in an advisory class with peers of the same grade level. Students form that community, and they embark on their journey together for 4 years. Their advisor consists of a faculty member at MHS that will hopefully remain with students throughout their entire span. So the goals of advisory is another layer of academic support, grade and attendance checks, help them sign up for ASR, because that will be new for freshmen, and they'll have lots of questions right away. And they are your contact home if you have any questions about your student. With Link Crew leaders, freshmen are lucky, because Link Crew leaders are our best of our best. They're the juniors and seniors that apply to be Link Crew leaders. And we take about 80 to 100 Link Crew leaders, sometimes more, and we pair them and we throw them into classes with freshmen, and they lead the classes and they help out. And having a freshman daughter, I hear more about her Link Crew leaders' lives than I do anybody else, and the guidance, and especially right now because the high school students are going through learning about classes for next year. My daughter is already on the ride home today. Well, Owen said we should do this, and so recommends that we should do that. And you're going to come to realize that you're not as influential as you once were. So hopefully these Link Crew leaders are doing a nice job. But these Link Crew leaders are building community, inclusiveness, and they're building healthy decision making. So together between the Link Crew leaders and your advisors, we really are giving them a roadmap to navigate the challenges of high school. as well as help students build life skills that they will need when someday they move beyond high school, but not my daughter. New slide, new title. I'm now the Service Learning Coordinator. So all students starting as freshmen are required to earn 40 hours of community or service learning hours. Hours may be earned in a couple ways. One is through classroom service learning projects. Another is through individual community service projects. This sounds daunting, but it's not. I don't want you to think it's something where my son or daughter has to go on this mission trip and they have to build a house and they're going to get 40 hours. It's not that complicated. Freshmen, they should be getting their hours embedded through the advisory program. We don't want you to have to worry about it your freshman year. We want to give them the head start. So freshmen are hopefully earning that during their advisory period. Also, a number of courses you will find in the course book will have service learning hours built into those that the teacher will enter into the campus portal at the end of each semester, and those will be counted towards their graduation requirement. But there is that individual community service, that independent volunteer effort based on your personal or career interests. And instead of sitting up here and giving you tons of examples of what count and what don't, I'm going to give you the USA Today version. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Go to our website. If you go to our website, you'll see a tab that says for students, and there you will see a section describing everything that goes into service learning. It's a great opportunity for your son or daughter to get out in the community and make a difference, but to keep it simple. Make it so it's something that they can accomplish and they want to do. Don't make it something that you are forcing them to do. Help them find those things. And if they can't find those places to volunteer, activities to do, then they can come see me in my office. So thank you for your time. At this time, I would like to introduce Denise Hansen.
Hi all. Denise Hansen, Coordinator of Intervention and Assessment, grad of Middleton High, go Cards. The year 19, something like that. Anyway, I'm here to serve your children and you and to help your kids navigate high school best I can. I like to team with families in any way I can. I'm here to kind of help kids on both ends of the spectrum. If your child is struggling to engage for some reason, they're not feeling challenged, they need more, I'm here for you to serve you. And also, if your child is struggling to engage for another reason, things aren't, thank you, sir. Things are too difficult, or something's not going quite right academically and they need some assistance, please know I'm here for you, and I'm just here to serve you. And hablo español también. Si quieren hablar conmigo en español, estoy a la orden. And with that, I'll pass you to Dr. Plank. And
All right, just two other quick things, and as I start sort of wrapping us up here, I want to transition us into that question and answer session. And so the first thing I'm going to do is, if you had a note card and you wrote a question down, if you can pass them to these center main aisles, we're going to collect those. Or if you want to whisper to a person, hey, I really still wanted a note card, or can I have a pen or something, we can do that as well. Our hope is to get all of any questions that you might have, so that we can do our best to answer them. And you'll meet our instructional leaders in this process as well. We just know there's questions out there, and this is a tough venue to do that, and this way has worked for us in the past. So while those note cards are coming around and being collected, or if you're writing down a question here in the next couple of minutes, I do want to make mention that as you look at this slide, Middleton High School is one of the high schools in the Middleton-Cross Plains Area School District. Now, it's the large high school. We serve a great preponderance of our students, And Clark Street Community School is doing some amazing things from a project-based perspective for students that want a very, very different type of experience. You may have already gotten some communication from the principal there, Jill Gertner, and if you have, or you have questions even this evening, I'm certainly able to answer those questions, as would Jill, who might be here yet tonight, and so in the gym later, but certainly we would want to be able to circle back with you if you have any interest in Clark Street Community School as well, so that you understand what those opportunities are. And finally, we also have 21st Century eSchool, and Jill Gertner is also the principal of that school, and that is an online opportunity for students. And for some kids, that is what they really want to be doing, and so that is also a consideration. There's also that opportunity if you're a student within Middleton High School to take a course or two online, and that is a discussion that you'll hear more about going forward. And so as we're kind of processing through these cards and questions, I also just want to make mention that you've heard a couple of people reference our website tonight, and I understand when you first go there, it can be pretty overwhelming. I mean, there's a lot of information there, and as you sort of get familiar with it, there is a tremendous amount of very useful, very helpful information as well. And so certainly places where you can go, particular to this time of year right now when you're selecting classes, is on our webpage under quick links on the side. There's a little section that says MHS 1920 registration. And in there is a digital version of that course offering book that you got that lists every single class, and so you can peruse that if you maybe set the other one down or got wet and damaged. All of our registration videos are linked to that space. You can watch them over and over to see what's going on, or, hey, I just had this question, I'm not really sure how that ended up. Or we've even added some FAQ information there, just some things that we know that we get commonly asked that you might want to just peruse through that frequently asked questions list. Great. In addition, this presentation will be posted there. So if you have interest in sort of perusing that stuff, it's there, it's a resource for you. We would certainly ask that you use it as needed. So at this time, I'm going to ask our instructional leaders to kind of come up, and if you're really in the front row, they won't spit when you talk. It's all good. But they're going to introduce themselves. We've got a couple of mics for them. And again, as I mentioned earlier, because of the size of Middleton High School, we feel that it's really critical that every single department has really high caliber leadership and people who are experts in their content field. And so these folks represent that effort. And I don't know where there's a mic, maybe Amy, if you've got one in front. We'll start and have them all do an introduction. And by the time we get through that, we should be able to process some of the questions from the note cards, and so that's our plan here. We'll just start down there with Annie.
Hi, my name is Annie Gravel. I oversee PE and health here at the high school.
My name is Erin Homelin, and I'm the instructional leader for the math department.
Hi, my name is Nicole Morehouse, and I'm the instructional leader for the special education department.
My name is Kristen Minster. I'm actually not an instructional leader, but I am one of the school counselors. I'm just standing in case there are questions pertaining to our area.
I'm also Kristen, and my last name is Wilson, and I'm a social worker in student services and also the instructional leader.
I'm Steve Curry. I'm instructional leader for fine arts. That's music, art, and theater.
I'm Chris Cody. I'm the instructional leader for English.
Hi everyone, Jay Calloway, I'm instructional leader for social studies.
I'm Stephen Abernathy, instructional leader for world language, that's Spanish, French, Chinese, Mandarin Chinese, and German.
Hi, I'm Catherine Eilert, instructional leader for science.
I am Greg Benz. I am the career and technical education coordinator for the district. So business, marketing, engineering, tech ed, family consumer science, health, occupations, all the, cool stuff.
And so at this time, we've got some cards here that we're going to pass around and have our folks respond to these questions. And so we're gonna, as we get these cards out, if somebody just kind of wants to grab a mic and start, we'll make our way around and try to get through as many as we can. Because we know if somebody took the time to write the question down, somebody else in the audience has that same question.
How about now? There we go. Mine says here, what is Project Lead the Way? Project Lead the Way is a curriculum that has 3 strands here at the high school. Engineering, biomedical science, thank you, sorry, total fail on my part, and computer science. So typically, Project Lead the Way classes have end-of-course assessments similar to AP type courses, where students may be able to get some additional college credit.
My question says, please explain earned honors option. So I will speak for science, social studies, and English. In the earned honors program, all students are eligible. Everyone can take earned honors. Students are enrolled in biology or modern world history or English 9. And within that class, we introduce the earned honors requirements. It's a little bit different for each subject area, but every student can take it. It's by semester, so you can take earned honors or earn honors credit first semester and not second, or maybe first semester is really crazy, and so you don't do it first semester and then you do it second. It's generally an opportunity for students to dig in a little bit deeper in content, get into something that they're really interested in that subject area. And all of us will be introducing it freshman year, probably October-ish.
Mine says here, can they test out or pass out of a course or skip to a higher level, for example, Spanish 3 instead of Spanish 2? Speaking specifically to Spanish, yes, we have a Spanish placement test that we give students that we can determine kind of what best level to place them at. That is particularly true for students that might be coming out of district, had maybe some courses or had some experience and they're not exactly sure where they fit. For students coming within the district, usually we work with their middle school teacher to kind of determine an appropriate placement. Other languages, it is also possible. We don't have yet a formalized placement test, but usually conversations with the teacher, the French, German, or the Mandarin Chinese teacher, we can kind of determine an appropriate placement level. I can't speak to whether or not that exists in other departments.
All right, my 2 questions are actually related to advisory, and most of us up here are also advisory teachers. So one of the questions is how many students are in an advisory, and that ranges from about 18 to 20 kids per advisory. And then what is the mix of grades in advisory? They are all grade level. So in your advisory class, your students will only be with freshmen, and then those late crew leaders who are juniors and seniors. There's roughly about 2 in each advisory, and then they will all go to their sophomore year together with their same advisory class, with their same advisory teacher. So it's always by grade level throughout.
My question also goes to advisory. Will the advisor reach out to parents if there are academic issues? And can the parents reach out to the advisor to address academic issues? Most of the time when we're in advisory, we're working with the students. I ask them and often counsel them about their grades, their absences. So most of that is us coaching the student. Sometimes we will also facilitate meetings when there's wraparound conferences or other things. You are always free to contact the advisor, always. And if there's worries, we try to work out with you. So you will get the email from your advisor. Sometimes I've had my parents contact me for other worries too, but then I can help problem solve how to reach out to other teachers. So we're a little bit of a home base for you. Another question on this is, will students need a laptop? There is some changes coming a bit on technological funding. So stay tuned because there's going to be some possibility for one-to-one, but that's not completely sure yet. And so stay tuned. And when your child says, Mom, Dad, I must have a laptop, and it should be at least $7,000. They say no because there's more information coming. I have one of our children, so I know how this has been going.
I didn't get any cards, but I don't want to feel left out, so I'm going to ask myself a question. Hey, if you're not in band, orchestra, choir, are there music offerings for you? You know what, there actually are. We have quite a robust general music area, including, of course, in hip-hop, in digital music production, and for students who just want to try an instrument for the first time. So there are lots of those opportunities. That was fun. I'm glad I learned that.
We're used to that. There's also a Chromebook program too that you'll be getting information about as well, and that'll be coming around. And there is funding for students in financial need, so please make note of that, and we'll make sure that your student gets a Chromebook. My question is more about the houses. Generally, what we get asked about is how did my student end up in this house? White spruce and red maple are the two houses right now in student services. How you ended up in that house could be because there were family connections, and we'll do our best to keep families together. We also then it's just assignment based on the numbers or the needs of the student and of the counselor in those houses, and that's how we're able to assign them. Your house information will be coming to you, most likely it'll be coming to you for sure this summer, and you'll see the house and your counselor name on the student schedule, also in IC. The other question I have is about 8th grade registration. Return pink sheet and sign up online, or just pink form? Both. We need both.
Also, in regards to the course registration presentation, I believe that's referring to the one that was given to 8th graders last week. Is it available online if it was missed? My understanding is that it is under the quick links that Dr. Plank pointed out earlier. When do we do four-year academic planning conferences? In the fall, November and December, counselors do individual planning conferences with freshmen and their parent guardians, so November and December. How will a parent know if students are filling all needed requirements? In that planning conference, we go over those graduation requirements in depth. Also, they're in the course book every year for students to refer to. Additionally, at the sophomore and junior year, we do seminars, which are small group format meetings with students and parent guardians, and graduation requirements, transcript review is always one of the topics in those seminars. Can you make a schedule change in September or once school starts? We do have two different schedule change windows. There's a priority schedule change window prior to school starting. So in August, when students get their schedule, if a major change needs to happen or wants to be hopefully made, they can request that. Then there is the first 10 days of school, which is the 10-day schedule change window, where they can also request, and changes are usually granted as long as there's space available in the course that they're requesting and they're still in all of their required courses. Last question, is it fact that UW-Madison does not take very many Middleton High School students because too many qualify, so they need to set limits? We work very closely with admission representatives. To my knowledge, there is no limit. In fact, we send many, many students to UW-Madison each year because we do have some of the most qualified students, so not to my knowledge.
Okay. My first question is, any college credit options in math? We offer AP Calculus AB, AP Calculus BC, and AP Calculus, or AP Calculus Statistics. AP Statistics, no calculus in that one. All three of those courses prepare students to take the AP exam, which is how they would earn college credit through those courses. So that's what we offer for that. If my student does not take high gap math, will this limit their college options for four-year institutions? No, not at all. In fact, they have plenty of amazing options, even if they take algebra, geometry, algebra 2, and pre-calculus. They're qualified for fantastic universities all over. So no, you do not need to take high gap at all. Has the content expectations in high gap A changed in the last 3 years? It seems as not as many students are being encouraged. I think the longer that we have high gap A, we notice that students as they get into their junior and senior year get to explore really amazing opportunities around the school, and if they have put all of their energy into math, they end up very stressed. And so I think we're trying to make sure that students are making very intentional decisions. If your son, daughter, child is extremely interested in math, they love it, they're always looking for extra opportunities, they excel, then maybe high gap is a great option. And yet if they're a really good math student, but they also have a ton of other things they're interested in, athletics, clubs, social studies, science, there's millions of things here, then not taking them allows them to have some of those other opportunities. So I don't think the expectations have changed. I think we just want people to be mentally healthy here and have that balance that people spoke to.
All right, so I have a question. I think so, Mr. George. Before I do that, first a big round of applause for all our professional leaders who work so hard. All right, so I have a question. How does a student with non-standard preparation get placed in math? And I took this one because I think it applies to things outside of math. We have students who don't all come from Glacier Creek and Cromwell Middle School here at Middleton High School. They come from other area private schools. They come from other school districts across this country, sometimes even internationally. And we have lots of students with unique needs. And when this situation comes across our plate, whether it's in math or any other subject area, we have real intentional conversations between our teachers, our counselors, and people like myself, Ms. John, and other administrators to make sure that we gather information to know exactly where the student should be placed so that they're not either bored or stressed excessively. So we really want to put them in the best spot to be successful, and yet even once we make those kind of decisions, if something comes up, we are willing to change things, and on the fly, really, we have to make sure the kids are appropriately challenged and being successful throughout their experiences here at Middleton High School.
I just wanted to clarify one of the questions that came across regarding the pink sheet and the Infinite Campus registration as well. If you are a family coming to us from a private school or any other school across the state or country, or for that matter, all you need to turn in is the pink form to Miss Middleton. You do not get an Infinite Campus login or portal login until you are fully registered as a student or a family at MHS. So just wanted to clarify that.
Thanks for staying up here with me. I guess I should introduce myself. I'm Bob George. I'm the athletic director here at Middleton High School. Very proud of that. Just a little side note, in May 30th actually, there will be a incoming freshman orientation for anybody who wants to go out for athletics. So you'll get all the athletic background. A lot of the sports, almost all of them, start before the fall sports, start before school starts. So we'll give you that information then, so you'll have it all. But I do have one question here, and it's, will MHS be implementing any random drug testing for athletes or extracurricular participants? At the present time, we haven't gone down that road. Not many schools around the state are doing it either. It is very costly, not necessarily the reason we're not doing it, but we redid our athletic code 2 years ago, actually implemented it last year. We're going to do the same thing to our clubs and activities code. And the idea is to basically teach and try to create a culture. It's called our Cardinal Creed, that we can help, our coaches can help, our advisors can help in that way. The next thing that we need to do is also get to you guys and help you guys so that we don't have to do the drug testing, and we create a culture and a climate that eliminates that. So, thank you.
So all of the folks that you just heard from, they will be in the field house. And so if you have specific questions for them that you didn't want to ask here, there's one more question before I wrap it up, and it's a question that I will answer. And it's a two-part. The first, I'll take the more challenging one first. The question is, how will the school deal with anti-Semitism? And I just want to say that it's a very interesting question. I'm not sure that there's some really perfect answer, or perhaps that if this question resonates with people, that there is a right way to address any type of race-based or religious-based or any other type of hate-based speech. But I can tell you this much, there's no place for it here at Middleton High School. And we have a very, very short fuse relative to dealing with students who choose to bully other students based on the way that they view their place in this world. And so we do have a lot of things that are in place, because first and foremost, we are an institution of learning. And so we take very seriously our obligation to help students be best with their own social emotional learning and self-control, whether that's about their self-awareness, whether it's about responsible decision-making, whether it's about self-identity and places of belonging in the world, whether it's about social awareness or self-management. These are all very huge anchors for us that exist across our curriculum and our places that we're talking about with students, whether it's about mindful behavior, whether it's about understanding kind of how we accept others in the world as well. And those are conversations that happen in our advisory program. They're conversations that happen in our all-school resource, in our clubs, in our activities, and in our athletics. And so it's pervasive throughout all we do. When we do hear of situations that are brought forward to us, we act upon them immediately. And yet, we have to also understand that changing the hearts and minds of people overnight is probably not something that any of us are going to be successful at. It's a long journey that we're in together. And so I would call upon all of you to help us with that by having those kinds of conversations with your kids at home about how we treat one another in today's world. So having said that, that's an interesting one. The other one, a lot easier for me to answer. When will the new high school be done? I've even tried to go away from saying that it's a new high school because people think, well, we're building some big new high school somewhere. No, it's right here. But the short of it is it will be happening throughout the time that your 2023 kid is with us. So next year in 1920 is essentially a planning year for us between now and about next April, a little over a year from now. It's a design time, it's a time of getting permits and starting to get the process ready. You'll see some things happening though on site relative to just preparation. The year 2021 will be a time where construction will be heavy to the north of where we're currently sitting out here. And that will be a 3-story wing that's about the size of Cromrie Middle School, if you want to kind of put that in your mind. When that is complete, we will then move to the south end of our campus and be demolishing a pretty significant portion of the school that is north of where the gyms are. And if you enter in by Bristol, the main entrance on Bristol Street and Student Services, pretty much everything from there to the south will be no more. And then as that gets done during that 21-22 school year, we rebuild that section of the school, or part of that connects back to the current math and science wing. And that happens, that construction completes in the 22-23 school year. And by the fall of 23, now after our conversation about these kids, then we are done with that part, at least. Who knows what comes after that? So that's the best I can answer that question. So again, I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you. I know that to sit still for a little bit, a touch over an hour, is not an easy thing. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for being here. Your rendezvous point with your child is now in that concourse area between the gyms, and we will all be congregated as a staff in that field house area if you do in fact want to stick around and ask some questions of us. We'll be here for about half an hour. Thank you again for being here, and welcome to the